So I was taking part in a wider discussion about raid penalties a few weeks ago, and the suggestion came up that raid penalties basically just amount to death and don't seem to show a great deal of creativity. So in this short video I thought I'd explore that perception a little and then look at what some alternatives might be, as well as what the wider benefits could be with such a system. So the basic premise is that you have mechanics to deal with in a raid, and if you don't, someone will die. It might be you, if you don't run out with a shattering star, for example. It might be an innocent if you don't soak their Hydra shot. But the idea is that these mechanics, if not done right, basically cause death, at least on mythic difficulty. But how true is this? Now, there have been some good mechanics on Tomb of Sargeras. These include Infernal spawning in when you don't soak the Brimstone on Goroth. Much better than just a massive raid-wide damage that's intended to kill the whole raid, as it just makes the fight harder, but still gives you a chance. You're likely to wipe, but by no means certain, and it gives you that fighting chance to redeem yourself. The Torment Bar on Demonic Inquisition is also a good system to punish you without just killing you, though you'd have to be sparing with the idea of a bar that fills up as you do bad. You can't use that on every fight. The Lunar Beacon on Sisters, again, if not dealt with correctly, you massively inconvenience your raid, but you don't outright kill them, even though you massively increase the risk of wiping. Tormented Cries on Desolate Host causes major problems if not placed correctly, but again it doesn't in itself directly kill people. And you could probably go through the bosses in any raid tier and think of a mechanic on most of these encounters that does punish you in this way without outright killing you. But the issue is that they are in the minority. If you look at the total number of not bosses, but mechanics, the must-do mechanics, the punishment very, very often is death. Again, at least on Mythic. Now, what is it we want from tough mechanics? We want a system whereby not dealing with them means you don't beat the encounter. What we don't want to do here is say, oh, we'd prefer a system that penalises rather than killing us just to make the fight easier. No, we'd want it, if we want it at all, to make the fight more varied. Raiding should be challenging, and Mythic raiding should be reasonably unforgiving of failure to deal with mechanics. But when a player dies, they're no longer playing the game, unless so few do that battle reses are a feature. And come to think of it, even then, only if you don't fall down the hole on Maiden. In fact, it might be argued that failing a mechanic and giving everyone a damage debuff might be more annoying than just dying. After all, the death of a DPS on Mythic, for example, would actually be more damaging than giving everyone a 5% damage reduction, but which one would the raiders in that raid be most upset about? But with Berserker time as a standard, whether via soft or hard enrangers, why does the punishment almost always seem to be death? Why not individual or raid-wide debuffs which reduce your maximum health, damage done, healing done, or some other factor which severely limits your effectiveness for a time? What about failed mechanics resulting in you being rooted or slowed? This might also give greater utility potential to classes and specs that can deal with a wider range of penalties than are often present in raid encounters. The penalties could, and indeed should, be just as likely to lead to a wiper's death, because reducing your damage done, for example, means being less likely to make that enrage timer. It also has the added bonus of allowing fights to nerf themselves for those further behind the progress curve. As you take longer to kill bosses, you get more resets of the boss's farm gear as well as AP, and can afford to take a few penalties and still make the time. Whereas an ability that will kill someone in week 1 will usually still kill them a month or 2 later. In this way, Blizzard keep having to actively nerf bosses when bottlenecks in progress appear. Whereas with another system where people die less frequently, I'm not saying there shouldn't be mechanics that automatically kill people. I'm fine with that, and people dying in a raid, of course, should be part and parcel of it. But if you increase the number of other penalties, you potentially create a situation where Blizzard don't keep having to think about nerfing bosses through a tier, which is very rarely satisfactory for those involved, and can just wait for the gear to nerf it for them. It could also help class variation. Very often the highly desirable classes are those that can ignore mechanics, and that almost always means being immune to what would be instant death to others. But increasing the range of penalties on offer as the result of failing mechanics, whether individual or collective, gives much greater scope with class identity. At the moment, a class that can immune one instant death mechanic can often do so on every fight, and if they can do it frequently enough, then you try to stack lots of that class. Fallen Avatar didn't fall to 5 rogues for the first time because method raiders really like their daggers. But those are just my ideas and what has been a wider community discussion of late. Let me know your thoughts below. And if you're interested in discussing topics such as this, then don't forget my Tuesday talk, which is every Tuesday from 7 PM UK time, live on Twitch. Details there. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share for further content. And until next time, I'll see you later.